was a nurse with dark clouds in her face that would weep for no reason down Goodbye Road. Drove up from Melbourne, her life in one case, and sat in my office, said, I'm looking for a home. Don't you have someone, somewhere to go? Where are you from, John? I really wanna know. Is it like that billboard near the end of their line? Because keep rolling, honey, and you'll find mine. Sometimes you have to head out on your own, because you can die of hunger trying to suck love from a stone. Sometimes you have to go build your dream home from the orphan's haunting. Goodbye Road. Love on one hand, freedom on the other. Gino said no to the jabs and lost his job and his brothers. He found Martine in a stand in the park, where after buying her a coffee, he asked as she stirred, don't you have someone, somewhere to go? Here is somewhere, you're cute, don't you know? Close your eyes, Gino, and you will see orphans can build homes on Goodbye Road. Gino stayed night after night. Then Martine whispered, let's build a light. For my soul is hungry and my heart is on fire, because it knows my love, because it now knows. Sometimes we have to head out on our own, because you can die of hunger trying to suck love from a stone. Sometimes we have to go build our dream homes with the orphans haunting. Goodbye Road.
Finish off, and before I bring on my guests, there was a lot of rumors going around, or I was getting secondary talks from suggestions that we shouldn't have David Nixon on because he's making us look like crazies, because he's still talking about nanobots. But to me, I think, well, he's shown me this stuff. I'd rather know, well, what is it? You know, instead of calling him crazy, why don't you tell us what this stuff is that he's doing? So he's also got a friend coming on from Mateo, and we're going to learn about him too. But before this all starts, we had a gift today, and the gift is this. Watch this. Is Alex Jones being scanned for nanobots.
So if you put that camera in there, you see how it says probably silicone? That means it's an electronic component. And it's not unusual to find that in the posterior ear area.
So wait, I got a higher reading than him?
No, his was higher than yours.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, but you did get a positive reading there. So you are getting at the base of the neck is what we typically see. Scapula area.
You got him too, buddy.
And the lower lumbar.
Got us.
And again, what we're finding is after post-COVID, this is very typical. We're completely bombarded by this stuff. And again, it says silicone-based. The apex. And the abdomen. And again, silicone-based. So,
what does that say? Comparable or less?
well, you know what, if we were to do a thorough exam, which takes a little bit longer, we would want to do the RF scan with the JM20 Pro first. Then we would come back with the frequency reader to obtain the numerical frequencies that we're detecting. And that would complete the whole process.
Do you have to take them out in order to get that numerical number?
No.
No?
No, we can detect it remotely.
And I noticed on you have the profile of different people. Did my profile pick up like a soldier's or somebody else's?
Very typical of a civilian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it knows the difference. So let's go. Here's my great friend, David Nixon. Dr. David Nixon has been through the wars. And now, why don't you introduce your friend?
Right. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mateo Taylor from Ecuador. And Mateo and I go back about 3 years. And I first saw Mateo on the Stu Peters show, where he was showing his experiments with the Pfizer vaccine. So I'll let him explain what he was doing at that time. Excuse me. And I blame Mateo for getting me involved in all of this. So people think
so it's his fault.
I'm crazy, and it's all Mateo's fault.
You hear that, Mateo? It's all your fault. Lovely to meet you, brother.
You as well. Hello, everyone, and hello, David and Michael. This is our first meeting. It's as we say down here, mucho gusto. It's
oh, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. No, it's I'm really glad to have the both of you on, and it's amazing we live in a world where we can actually do this. We're in 3 different places and we can come together. This is a good side of technology. But why don't we start with you before we get into the updates of what you guys have been finding? Just tell us an update for those who haven't heard about your work. How did you get into it, Mateo, and where did you start? What brought you to this nanobot discovery?
I've lost track of time, so I'm not sure about the time scale. David is very
I'm the same, brother. Yeah, it's just like a blur.
It feels like 2019 right now. This is going to sound like I made it up, but I am literally somebody who ran away from the grown-up world, and I live on an off-grid, small, tiny organic farm in the middle of nowhere in Ecuador. And I had been that way for about 1.5 years, just building this place and just having a blast. And then curiosity got the best of me, and I started looking at masks. And then I said, wow, these test things are kind of suspect. So I started looking at those. And then I'm I guess, sneaky enough to have gotten a vaccine very, very early on in the Ecuador vaccination onslaught. And I looked at that, and every single time, immediately, I found something that was not very toward.
Wow.
Every single time. And so I just went through a very, very short period of disbelief in each of those areas and cried out after deciding that this is actually something. And then the universe just took me from there. But yeah, I'm off grid. I barely had my solar panels up. My windows were still missing from my home. My bed was in a shipping container, and I was running an internet line over to my closest neighbor, about 65 meters, just trying to get internet. So and then all this started to happen. And I think I did one of my Stu Peters shows. All of my clothes were still drying outside, so I was basically half nude. Yeah, it was nip and tuck there at the beginning, and then David came along, and it was almost like a relay race where I was just exhausted and passed the baton, and he went. Yeah, I probably owe him a whole bunch of money because of what he spent after being intrigued by what I did.
Yeah. What is it like, though, to be looking at something that you can see shouldn't be there, and yet around you, the world, it's like you're Jack Nicholson in The Cuckoo's Nest. Around you, the world is just lining up, going in, you know, doing their thing, and you're like going, "Whoa, what is it? How?" I mean, there must be a loneliness factor. But how does that feel? You're like the person that could see the ice, before the iceberg on the Titanic, where everyone's playing bingo. They don't want to. They don't want to hear.
Oh, those analogies, I'm still kind of stuck on those. Those are almost perfect analogies. I think uh, alone is not lonely, so that's always good.
Yeah.
And if you've seen it multiple times, if one sees something multiple times, the convincing is there. But then, as people don't see what you see, I'm talking kind of in a mix of second and third person. I apologize for that, but to be believed is not as important as for people to be engaged enough as to explain. I don't. I sort of eschew belief in general, and so just convincing it became my issue.
Yeah.
And to be able to speak clearly and to show evidence. But David and I think among our pseudo colleagues are unique in that we don't make very many assertions. We just cry out for people to corroborate and to help explain. So basically, we, instead of saying we have the answers and I, me, we tended just to say, help. We don't know what the hell we're looking at. So
You have the questions, basically, which is what. And let's be honest, none of us have the answers. We don't have access to the real data. We don't know where this is coming from on any subject. We're just questioners.
we don't know how well it's hidden. We don't know whose toes we're stepping on, and but fascinating stuff. And finding just a few little glimpses of people with interest was enough to keep it going. It's I don't marvel if the world hates me. I've been a nerd my whole life, so I there's nothing on me.
Yeah, I'm the same, brother. David, what was it like reaching out to him? And so did you reach out to, you're muted, David. Did you reach out to Matteo before you had your own microscope? Was that?
No, it was afterwards, but it was very shortly afterwards. Yeah, so I think it was after I'd been in contact with Maria Z for the first time, and so it must have been about November 22, so October 22, somewhere there, and Maria gave me Matt's email, and we contacted each other after that. Matteo had been on Maria Z and Stupides by then, and so I'd seen what he had been looking at, and I'd obviously been seeing similar things.
How similar?
Identical, really. I've got some. I've got a. Okay, I shouldn't have said similar. Similarly identical, and Matteo's got quite a few pictures very similar to the same as the one behind me. And so I put some Matt's images into a PowerPoint.
Oh, we'll get to those in a sec. But first off, what the beauty is here, in a tragic way, is you're in Ecuador, in a remote farm. You're in Queensland, and you're seeing the same stuff. And that you have to tell us what it is rather than dishing us. And it's harrowing. And what's really interesting about it, though, is I remember when it came out, I think you were on Hoodie Show, or someone was on Hoodie Show, and we all heard about it, and suddenly everybody's talking about it, and then it just died down. It's like the calamari in people's blood. It was like, oh my God, look at this, they found this calamari, and then it just gets forgotten about. And then, like you said, Matteo, it comes back briefly and then goes away. But now we've got Alex Jones being scanned, so they've got a nanobot scanner. And to me, well, they're not going away. This stuff is still in people's systems. And what is it doing there? What's it doing now? Is it developing? Is it growing? And last time it seemed to be assembling itself. Has it constructed little cities within us? I mean, what the hell is going on? So how do you guys want to do it? Do you want to start with a presentation from you, David, and we'll talk about that?
I was just thinking, possibly hear from Matt about his experiences with the Wi-Fi, which was
All right, let's do that.
one of the key things that I got on, and then I've got the video lined up, Mateo, of you with Stu Peters showing him the. Are we able to show Stu's video,
Yeah,
Michael? Or,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
everyone. So, Mateo, do you want to talk about, the time you spent figuring out these crystals were responsive to Wi-Fi? I mean, that was a really big find
That's huge.
because nobody had done that up until that point.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay if I just kind of riff on that? Is that what you'd like?
Yeah, you go, man.
Yeah.
I think I long before I started even looking at masks and swabs, I'm not a huge fan of radio frequencies in general.
Yep.
I'm an electrical engineer and I was in that field for quite a while, but mine wasn't antenna design. It was chasing noise around different things, trying to get rid of it. So straight signal, that was kind of my specialty. But I have an eye disease that I was just convinced was from using a cell phone all the time. I was a engineering project guy, and I just had a telephone on my ear all the time. And I wouldn't get scanned for any of that stuff. But as soon as I got away from the RF, my eye disease really slowed down. So I just put all these little mini pieces together.
Yep.
And I'm a Luddite who's using the internet, so I understand the inherent contradiction. I know that RF is dangerous. I know that microwave range of frequencies is very, very dangerous. And so I just went on my suspicion. And it's nice to be technically accurate, or at least show a technical inquiry path that's valid in something this important. But I learned very, very early on that mixing a microscope and a vaccine and RF was going to be met with a little bit of resistance. But as soon as I started, I tried to validate it like 4 and 5 times because I really need to be shown something, and it just kept doing it. It just kept doing it, and I tried all kinds of different things trying to prove myself wrong, and that's actually initially why I reached out, is because I thought I didn't think I was going mad, but I thought maybe there's something about my condition of having absolutely no RF whatsoever, and introducing it at a high rate was doing something weird that nobody else could repeat or nobody had the chance to do. So all these different engineering troubleshooting paths went through my head, and then as soon as it started being corroborated by David, then that gave me a lot of confidence to at least start looking a little bit closer. But I thought I was down one of the rabbit holes of that burrow, or that warren, I guess they call rabbit holes in multiples. Until David came along, I really thought that I was seeing something that nobody had. And we thought it was going to catch on like fire, and people were going to have routers and cell phones and shots and microscopes and all this kind of stuff. It never really realized. So, that little person on my shoulder saying, you could be full of crap. It's still there. It's still there. And
I think we're all questioning that, which makes me think that we're not, because I think if you're crazy, you don't know you're crazy. I had a psychologist on the other night. I have him on every 2 weeks, and that's what he said. He said crazy people never question themselves because they have no idea that they're crazy. So the fact that you're questioning it is a clue that maybe you're not. You know what I mean? And and the fact that you've got David over there too, so I'm actually, even though you're trying to put on a give the show a lightness, it's actually horrific. It's actually you literally not sure you do want to go there, because it's like, what are these things? Why have they done this to us? And these are daunting for people. Most people are still wanting to question the mask, let alone that they've if they got so many nanobots in their blood, if they fart, they can change channel on the TV. I mean, it's just, it's just that nutty. But David, let's start with you. Do you want to bring up the Stu Peters thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have
Okay.
to do. I'll have to do it from this end.
I'm gonna look younger. I'm not sure which episode he's calling.
We're all gonna look younger. We're on Goodbye Road. I can't see it.
Yeah. It's always quite fun looking at this stuff at the same time as being on the show, because you can look in both places at the same time.
Yeah.
So let's actually can't do that.
While he's doing for that, Matteo, how's it affected your life doing this? Have you lost friends and family? People sort of wanting to stay away from you, or have they actually embraced it and thanked you for what you found?
No, outside of my family, I would say I've received pretty good thanks and some pretty good, very interesting conversations with some people that in no other life would I have ever spoken to. I was hanging out with doctors and PhD scientists, and here I am, just this engineer, sort of spitting tobacco. I'm truly a redneck. I just don't talk like that. But what was neat is that the engineering discipline that I come from really, really helped, I think, the doctors and the researchers refine what they were looking at, or at least, well, this is kind of a crass way to look at it, but basically, if this idiot can find it, then I can do it, and I hope that maybe gave some motivation. But I'm pretty bright, but I've always been the kid who didn't live up to his potential.
Yeah.
Just because I'm very much an idealist, and if I didn't like something, I just either told them about it or stopped. Like a bad job, I would either try to fix it or I'd quit. So it kind of finally to be right and finally to have good method. And I've been good at troubleshooting for my entire life, and I've never really had to convince anybody because my stuff was always right. It's pretty easy to be an engineer and be right, but to be an engineer in a biological field, saying some pretty nutty stuff, that was very, very new.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But nobody was really applauding. Nobody was saying, "Wow, what groundbreaking research!" They were just saying, "This guy's a crappy microscope and no background. What the hell's he talking about?"
Well, look, to tell you the truth, this is I've always loved science, and you watch, say, you switch up, and then there's something on, say, the internet news. Oh, they found a new frog in the Amazon, a new species, and you read about it, and the species looks exactly like another species, except it has one spot different or something, or it's the one strand of DNA is different, and it makes worldwide news. And I was thinking, how can that make worldwide news? And this calamari in the blood, which scientists have said we've never seen before, doesn't get any exposure, anything. And then the nanobots, nothing. You know what I mean? But this little frog, it's on the red carpet of scientific discoveries. So that's what I'm finding really scary and peculiar, because people are putting their careers on the line, like yourself, like David. We've had I think Richard, I can't remember his name. He's in America with the calamari stuff. O'Looney, the other funeral director in the UK. These are really brave men who've gone out there and said, "Look, there it is. I've come out of the, what, Rich, we had Hirschman, I think we had him on. He was actually saying that he went to one body and the person had died, and they were doing something, I can't remember what they were, but they had tubes in the guy and they left them in there. And while the man was dying, this calamari stuff had grown right through the tubes after he died. He said that on my show, and I was going, so it's a different life. It's growing. I mean, if it's some form of living thing that it's growing, looking for sustenance or something, It's yeah, and yet I thought that would have people going raving, screaming. Nothing. It's just this placid nothing. How you going, David? Have you found it?
Yeah, we're all good. Here we go.
I can't see it here. Have you doing the share screen?
Yeah, can you see
There it
that
is. Yep,
screen
got
there?
it. I got it.
If I do that, can you see it big?
Yep.
Yep. Oh, wonderful.
This is video number 80. This shrink at 1 minute in the video, I actually turn back on the router.
Didn't just see about you get a bit more volume.
There, got it.
That was that.
And so this is actually a video that you can play slow-mo if you want to. But this is one that completely reassembles.
Just salt crystals, Matt. That's all. That's what we're looking at here. Just salt
That's all.
crystals, right?
So that's been a little bit of a run, excuse me, a bit of a running
lane.
joke. Yeah, the old salt crystal. And if you
How long was that time frame for that? For that, when you're watching that, was that over an hour or 24 hours?
That grow and shrink cycle was on the order of minutes.
So when you're watching that, I mean, you're really watching something hardly anyone's seen. What does that feel like? You're going, it's just because people have said to me, "Oh, it's just crystals," or it's. We used to see this before, but I'm thinking, well, it doesn't look normal. It looks wrong. I'm not a scientist, but what are your thoughts as you're looking at it for the first time? Can you remember?
Oh yeah, don't move the microscope. Make sure you check the videos running about 18 times, and just pure adrenaline tension. It's a exhilarating feeling.
Wow.
And I was wiped out by the technology, just completely in dismay. But I'm not I'm not one of the people who think that this is a calamity, or that this is just a incredibly alien technology assault, genocide weapon. I seriously doubt that, just because I know the kind of people who might have developed it. And I'm different. I just see a series of blunders with a few hints of how to detach it. So I've never had anything but confidence that we can unbuild this stuff. I'm just trying to figure out how.
That is good. That is good news. Yeah. That is really good news. So you actually of the belief that humans could have developed this? Because it just seems so far technically ahead of us, but you think it's actually could have been developed by human beings?
Human beings for sure, and flawed human beings, and in a compartmentalized setting. It's a government project, no matter how you look at it, with $1 trillion budget. And I just think back on some of the projects I've done in my past, and with $1 trillion budget, I could do some stuff.
Yeah.
Like I just see some guy with a $300 microscope discovering this stuff as being a blunder, not necessarily a scientific discovery. But with all this COVID nonsense, I've been antagonistic from day one. I'm an unvaxxed person, not just an unjabbed person. So I guess I just never bought it for a minute, and I like to point out flaws in arguments, so I just started doing that.
Well, that's a healthy approach. Well, David, do you have what do you call it? Oh, my head.
Yeah, slideshow.
Let
me show some of Mateo's images, if I can find the right.
Because the other thing too is this is how you saw 3 years ago. I'm really wondering, is it still at the same level? Is it, is it now doing something else? Is it different now than it was 3 years ago? Because it seemed to be constructing. So you think, is it still constructing? Is it still building?
And we're coming at it. I love how they call it the freedom movement, but we're bookending it so far. So we have the sort of the redneck, this is what we see on the microscope, Matt Taylor and David Nixon approach, all the way up through the patents and the papers and Sabrina Wallace's good work. that is all esoteric without direct evidence. And we're trying to squish those two together. And we've been at that battle for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So it might be useful, Matt, to have a discussion about your setup with the Wi-Fi antenna under the stage and how you actually went about that.
I have a router and a setup. So I just, on the stage of my microscope, I just put the router right underneath it, and I oriented. I have two antennas on that, and I put one vertical and one horizontal, and just held my breath. And that was about it. But it was right next to the slide. So to me, that would open it up to the fundamental frequency, which is 2.4 to 2.5 gigahertz in there, and then all of the harmonics that are associated with that, which are multiples of that frequency. So it was up in the gigahertz relatively, in the teens of gigahertz relatively quickly, and pretty close to that slide. I think that might have something to do with it, but I have no proof for that. But it was doused in RF energy from all sides and very close.
And what was the reactions when you were hitting it with Wi-Fi? What was it actually doing?
It was changing. It went from a stagnant space up into a very active space. So we focus on the crystals, but as David and I look back at our previous work and just kind of giggle at ourselves, you can see a whole lot going on in the background that we missed the first time around.
Oh, okay.
And then it seems to energize also the assembly of multiple things that tend to come together. So if there's a ribbon forming and we'll call it a chip or a crystal forming, we could very quickly and easily see the corresponding shapes and forms coming together to form something else. So that we started to think in the idea of this works on many, many levels. And people say that this is nanotechnology. We're showing it. We are not. We're showing microtechnology that we suspect is being built from nanomaterials.
Okay, microtechnology. When you say it's forming, after all these years now, has it actually formed something complete that you can identify and understand what it is? Like, because I know the theories are that it's some way to control us, to follow us, monitor us, or something like this. I don't know. Do you have any idea what it actually is constructing?
If anything, it looks like a sort of a rollout of a flawed product. I think software engineering, what they tend to do is to put out a hello world program, which just means, is my compiler working? You know, can I put out a simple sentence necessarily? I think that's what we're seeing now. And it's interesting. I think that's where they're heading. But as they push all this money and all this research out into the test subjects of many, many billions, I think they're finding technical difficulties that are really going to make this difficult. So the monkey wrencher in me, I want to look to where to throw the wrench.
Yeah, yeah.
And anything built by man can be unbuilt, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
to
there's hope there. If it's built by man, then I totally agree. But if it's, and the other thing too was about the boosters. Do you think the boosters, the next booster, does it deliver materials that the first jab didn't have? You know, does it have more action and building happening as more boosters are added?
You're going to hear I don't know quite a bit from me.
That's cool. Hey man, I don't think, you know.
Given a big budget and a whole bunch of microscopes and a whole bunch of different shots, we could probably determine that. But it's indicative of it not working right the first time, or they underestimated the total quantity of things that were going to take hold in the body, or they were missing some ingredient, or they had to. My hope is that when we started to find this stuff, that they had to go back and redo their recipe, and it cost them billions and billions of dollars. That's my hope, is to maybe help bankrupt them.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing a whole lot of technology that can't be unseen. So they did a big move with this one, and if it's tissue engineering and it's resident within the human body, that means that we can go find it. We just have to have the gumption to go find it.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful. David, what about yourself? What are your thoughts?
Well, I was quite keen to um, get Matt to talk a little bit about move on to the the MAC address phenomenon, because
Oh, that was one of
Mateo's
my next
been
questions. Yeah.
very involved in that. But certainly, from my perspective, looking at the materials, we've found that the body is pretty good at getting rid of the stuff through your urine and through your sweat and through your
Oh, okay.
bowels, and the it does seem to be an equation of how much you're taking in versus how much is going going out. So
So they might have underestimated the ability of the body to cleanse itself.
yeah,
Something
let's
they do
hope
a
so.
lot. Well, let me I had a man approach me here in a country town, and he wanted to show me how to get my Samsung phone to read MAC addresses in people. And I didn't want to go public with it. I said, okay, well, look, there's my phone. You show me. And I filmed him doing it, and he filmed it. And then we did some tests. All I know was we had these strange 15-digit numbers. I think they're 15, if I remember, 13 or 15 different digits coming on. And he was claiming he'd be on a bushwalk, and some people would pass him, and he'd have 4 numbers if they passed. And that went uber viral around Australia with people testing it out. So, but that too has sort of faded away. Like, oh yeah, isn't that interesting? That was yesterday's news, but saying, well, can they still read us? So what is the updates on the MAC addresses and stuff?
Are you okay with preliminary and basically anecdotal results?
Yeah, sure.
The signals seem to be coming out of people, but they need to be interpreted by something as an intermediary before they're put on this whole idea of a mesh network. I think the you're going to hear, I think, a lot too. The mesh network seems to be in place, and it seems to be resident within a whole lot of technology that's already distributed, meaning routers and cell phones and smart devices and things like that. And they can already intercommunicate with Bluetooth. So that's already set up in order for one device to talk to another.
Yeah.
In order to pull off a scheme where where a normal person couldn't see information, the secret information, this evil layer of information going back and forth, you'd have to hide that pretty darn well.
Mm.
And this MAC address seems to be something where either they had to poke their head out into the existing technology just a little bit in order to get this thing functional, or just like the other things that I've been seeing, including the clots, by the way, just a technological blunder or an oversight, and they rolled out a beta device way too early without testing it for security, basically.
Wonder why they would go early if there was so much investment in this. Do you wonder why the pressure was to go early? Why they just didn't wait until it was perfected?
Any large multidisciplinary project, there's always someone who knows the least that has the most power that pushes it. And there were a lot of midnight oils burning and getting this thing rolled out. Blunders happen, especially when you compartmentalize a project. The project intelligence, I call it, just goes to hell. So that's what I look for, is blunders and big things that says this is what we didn't quite do right, and then you just stick your screwdriver in that hole, I guess, is a basic way to put it. The MAC addresses seem just like a relic to me. I think there's a tremendous amount of information that doesn't have to do with 12 hexadecimal numbers. There's a tremendous amount of information on the outside of that, and this is just sort of
so it's 12, is it? Sorry, so it's 12 numbers.
Yeah, it's 12 hexadecimal numbers, and they go from 0 to F meaning 15.
Yeah.
And there seemed at the beginning to be sort of it starts with a 4, 5, 6, or 7, and some of those are changing. And then there's an interesting thing. I'm on a lot of Bluetooth sort of voyeur channels of the cycle going on, and they haven't really given me a good idea, but they did this thing called randomization. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where it jumps from number to number. They say it's to enhance security. I think that's to obscure the MAC phenomenon.
I have been told we had there was another after I did that uh, interview. There was a guy in the movement who's rich. He spent a lot of money trying to get it to prove it, and got some experts in. But one of the things they found was the numbers were changing constantly.
Yeah.
You know.
I bet that was after the fact, and that's probably the only part of the hardware software suite where they can influence is from the device backwards. The transmitters seem to be indelible, meaning that they're hardware based, not software based. So there's no updating that I know of, and we're stuck with what we're stuck. So basically, it's like getting a transmitter glued to your outside and you can't pull it off. So you try to figure out what it is and try to get it out of there. I think they did something that they can't undo, and now they're trying to make excuses for it. That's what it looks like to me.
What about you, David?
Well, I'll defer to Matteo in terms of the MAC address side of things, because he's certainly done a lot more looking at that than I have, including, more sophisticated equipment rather than just tracking with the mobile phone app. So perhaps, Matteo, you'd like to just talk to that in terms of the spectrum analyzers and things you've been using.
Yeah, I don't have any spectrum analyzer. I was trying to look for the actual form of the signal emitting from the human body, and that was really hard to track down. I need more volunteers on that one, but all this stuff is anecdotal, and I use a smart device, and then I also use kind of a dumb device, and I'm seeing what reads what. And without help, I think about 2040, I'll have a relatively good answer. But yeah, it's rough. It's rough going, and I think I need a couple of $1 million budget in order to get the right gear to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be the right person to do that either. My hope is that any kind of anecdotal evidence and crappy equipment that I use will do like I did with David and the chip research, which is to turn somebody on that has a little bit more facility and definitely more credentials.
Yeah, it's can I just ask though, what do you think, even if it's been a failed experiment, what do you think they were trying to do? Because is it just monitoring? Is it monitoring our health? Is it, any idea what the actual purpose was in the first place? What the goal of what they were trying to do or achieve?
I don't. Most people say, "Well, I just can't think that evil." I can. I can do that just because I like beating these people. I would say that this is the first test to see if a broad spectrum mesh network is possible from people to device to device, and can we start to collect these massive amounts of data reliably and tag people to devices to routers within themselves. It's a 100% positive ID thing. There's no way to beat it.
Okay. Yeah.
There's very little way to hide it. So it has a lot of implications with big data and with absolutely monstrous surveillance systems and things like that. They probably have the data start to come back. I just really hope they're disappointed. I hope our wonderful, beautiful, resilient bodies are really screwing them up.
Is 5G a part of this? What are your thoughts on that? Because I was in Melbourne during the lockdowns. We had the most severe lockdowns, and all through it, they were putting up 5G like crazy, saying it was essential. They said it was they actually came out and officially said it's for when we get driverless cars. And I was saying, we're in a pandemic. Aren't we all going to die? Is that really important? Maybe driverless hearses. We'll probably need those. But what are your thoughts? Is 5G a part of this whole thing?
I would suspect so, because I don't know with the jump from 4G to 5G that bandwidth for the usual user really increased all that much. I don't know the speed increased all that much.
No, it's worse. I live in a bus and I travel Australia, and the internet has gone from being you'd be in, say, Sydney or Melbourne with 4 or 5 bars on your phone. Now you can one or two. The internet's actually worse with the introduction of 5G. So it certainly wasn't for giving us better coverage.
And it sure has the possibility to do that. They increased bandwidth tremendously. I think that was the whole point of going 5, and now they're talking about 6. I don't even know that they have 5 figured out yet. But if that additional bandwidth and processing power and interconnectability, meaning the whole mesh, which is all the little mini cells all over the place, if that hasn't increased people's, I guess, what would you call that? Browsing bandwidth?
Yeah.
That bandwidth still went somewhere. So whether or not it's being bogged down with devices talking to different devices and trying to get this mesh in place, that might be a whole big part of it.
Yeah. Because the fact that they haven't told us, I mean, can you imagine them trying to tell us, hi, guys, there's nothing wrong. There's no pandemic, but we just want to get these. We've developed these little tiny little chips and we just want to put them in your body.
Yes.
You can just see the world going, really, really,
Be wary when the first thing out of their mouth is, well, don't panic. You're in trouble.
Yeah, we're here to help. Yeah. There's did you have another slideshow of what you've been finding recently, David? You said you'd found some interesting things at the moment.
Oh, what I was keen to show first, Michael, was video that Matteo and I took a couple of years ago.
Sure.
Of a key finding.
Yeah, Rachel.
Struggling to see how I get that to work. This is with both of us looking younger and probably a bit better. And healthier. I'll speak for myself. Here we are. Let's do that.
Hey, I'm the only one here that's had a heart attack, buddy. Here we go.
So this was late 2022. I'd prepared some slides of Pfizer in August 22, and on the 7th of December, I did a show with Gareth Ike where we looked at a particular slide, and I've got some before photos which I can show you. But this was a video we did 2 days later, and this was the first time we came across the what I've been calling the plugged-in phenomenon. And this video goes a little bit of a way towards the sort of things we were looking at that time. But before I go on to the big stuff, I'll just play some of this. The center there, 14 times magnification, is pretty typical of the sort of structures we see. I've just increased that to 100 times magnification. I'll just put that in the center there. I'll just adjust that. But yeah, this was typical of the sort of crystals that we were seeing in Pfizer 3 years ago. Both Matt and myself, we were seeing crystals with these squares in the corners, multiple different layers, and often this morphology with the rectangle with a dark circle in it in bright
just
field.
To clarify, straight lines and squares are very rare in nature, aren't they?
They do appear in crystals, but
they do.
You don't. Yeah, they can do. Particularly sugar crystals and salt crystals, but they don't have the internal complexity that these ones do. So this is a sample of Pfizer that at this stage is 4 months old, and it's still doing things. I might just turn the volume down. So this is a 2-hour video where we actually spent the time looking at the various structures on the slide. This is that same structure at 200 times magnification, and you can see I'm just cycling through the different layers. There's at least 3 layers involved here.
Wow.
I mean, and that's not what you've seen in any sort of non-technological crystal.
Yes. What's it constructed of? Do you know?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a soft crystal scaffolding, if you like, that is using sodium chloride as a scaffolding. And then it clearly has colloidal particles in it, which have come from the sample. And we haven't done, or I certainly haven't done, and Matt hasn't done any chemical analysis of the constituents. But we suspect there's a lot of different components involved.
I noticed when Alex Jones was on, the gentleman who was scanning him saying they can tell the difference between if they scan whether it's a soldier, whether it's a civilian, and they can actually monitor the difference through the scans.
Yeah, he was saying something like I turned off my video. My internet has slowed down to a.
Yeah, no worries.
He was saying that it's silicon based, and I don't know if he's getting that based on the way the frequency looks when it's coming off the body. I don't know, but I don't know that he can do any kind of spectral analysis of components as he's just waving that wand around. So my guess is what he's interpreting that as being as a silicon based signal coming out.
Yeah. And what is the machine he's using, the scanner? Is that something new, or?
I had never seen it before.
No.
It almost looks like a bad B science fiction movie, doesn't it? Or a critical or something.
So what we saw with this sample was that it had developed new fibers within the liquid. We'd also seen that within the we call them the matrix, it got a lot more active in the fibers involved. Had actually connected up with the other crystals.
Oh, so that was I was interested. So they actually, it's like creating a network then. So it actually connects up with the other crystals.
Yeah.
Wow. And in someone's body, would this be in their blood or in their tissue or everywhere?
Well, we don't know how it responds within the body. Certainly, Mateo's got some ideas about where these things might be parked in the body.
Yeah, all right, lonely. Yeah, the donuts have either the donut.
Oh my God, look at that one.
I can't believe you can switch over that fast.
I didn't. But if I dropped that.
Yes, that's using dark field, and you can just see the level of internal complexity in these crystals. So you've got
absolutely
internal compartments, and then you've got these what we call donuts, but they're circles within a rectangular.
But those lights, is that a reflection of the light from the microscope, or are they self-illuminated?
It's the way that the structure interacts with the light, so that they're not actually producing light. They're actually above the surface of the crystal, so we see them as being brighter.
Yeah. Look at the complexity in it, though. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. This
And
is what.
how many have you seen united? So they've got one there. We saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the first time that Mateo and I had seen this crystal that it plugged in like this.
File names become. Oh, look at that!
Holy
Oh.
shit. Well, this chap was the one that I showed Gary on 2 nights.
Oh,
And that blue.
My voice has always been bad, but I'm not sure that it's gotten any better.
No, relax. Yeah, everything has been overshadowed by that blue cord. I mean, look at it. So that's the first time you'd seen it. First time maybe
Yeah.
anybody outside of who developed it had seen it. Oh yeah,
Anyway,
you showed
yeah.
us this last week.
So that was the crystal before, and
Yeah.
that was how it looked 2 days before, and then we were down with this. So we obviously spent quite a long time looking over it at different focal lengths. But it's that, it's undeniably technological and not an artifact.
But with the cord, do you think the cord is for power or for communicating? What do you think the cord's the purpose of it is for?
One of our other colleagues, Shimon Yanowitz, is just convinced us pretty well that looks like a data cable.
Yeah,
and that kind of makes sense. And if they're using like photo optics, different frequencies, you need something like that. It seems far-fetched. It could be an antenna. It could be a lot of different things. It could also be another mistake. But when we first found that, we had seen those ribbons coincident with chips quite a bit. But it was only at this point where we thought that it actually had moved and attached. And so the part of that David just skipped over was us saying, wait a second, was that there yesterday?
Go back, David.
Where was it? And has it really leapt onto the top of this chip? And so, yeah, it was quite a moment. It was the biggest aha moment of my entire life.
David, can you go back and share that moment?
Sure. So,
well, David went into full panic mode. He just went back and said, wait a second, yesterday it was this, and where did it attach, and what did it look like? We had no idea at what we were looking.
Extraordinary.
my favorite thing with all of this, and when I had the most adrenaline and anxiety, was when they were growing and shrinking. But that's when you're the most panicked about your microscope technique. All your file names become, oh, look at that.
Holy shit. Well, this chap was the one that I showed Gareth on 2 nights.
Oh.
And that blue ribbon, or blue piece of cotton or whatever it was not touching that chip.
No kidding.
I've got that on UK video. So this chip here, 2 days ago, looked like
I would say that they're very connected at this time.
So 2 days ago, it looked like that. Can you see that?
Yes.
So I prepared to go from this shot to the live version and then move around. But as you can see from that last shot, that wasn't touching. And it's changed the whole morphology of the inside.
There's almost no doubt getting away from at least that's going under it or over it. But that sure looks like it's connected, David.
But you've got donuts here and here, which we still see.
So messy.
It's definitely the same chip, right?
Have you monitored any communication when it connects up to
I
another
know
one?
this side pretty well. That's crazy, man. It's another nutty thing.
We haven't, because there's thousands of these on every slide, so it's hard to figure out which is which.
Thousands of them.
Yeah, usually at least hundreds on a single drop.
God.
And that's logical, I think, because if you program matter to kind of assemble, you don't know which ones are going to make, which ones aren't, so you just brute force. In engineering, we say, why use one nail when 100 will do 100 times better?
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. So, whenever we see features on other crystals that resemble features on this one, we know we're likely to be dealing with the same sort of process.
So
Yeah.
could you take a screenshot of that for me?
I did, but now I can't get.
But that was then. If you look at it now recently, if you went back, is there more of this connection? There are a lot of them connected, like they've set up their own network?
So I managed to look at this for this particular slide for another couple of months. And certainly there are more fibers connected to more tips, to more crystals, but none as dramatically and as clearly and as symmetrically as this one. We've seen something similar in a dental crystal.
Did it always remain attached? In these months, did it always remain attached?
After about 6 weeks, it became detached. Whether that was because I banged it or I don't know. I've actually got photos that actually slipped further down over time. But all of that blue fiber that you see there, none of that was there 2 days before. That had all developed within 2 days. And you can see from there on the slide that there's a number of other crystals that have got, central glowing bits and donuts, and they look equally as developed. So these videos, this video is on my website for anybody who wants to have a
Look
look.
at that cord. Why aren't scientists? Surely there must be. You would just think there'd be some even retired scientists who'd want to come on board and investigate this, or just even to prove you wrong. Are you getting that? Are you getting professionals coming in trying to disprove it, or just thoroughly explore what you guys have been doing and finding?
No, the only thing that really happens is that people dismiss this without even engaging with the images or the video.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm
They
finding.
have a confirmation bias that it can't exist, and they'll just dismiss it out of hand, but not actually engage with the photos.
Yeah, it's in this whole crazy scheme. It's one of the only things I think that people are dismissing without having done any work.
Yeah,
and that's the heartbreaking part. Is we put thousands of hours in this, and David has put far much more work into this, but all we get is ridicule, and ridicule is just dismissing without evidence, which is ascientific.
Yeah,
that's truly offensive, because if we're trying to keep to a process that is open. And it has no choice but to be an extremely modest thing, because we don't know what we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
But we haven't really pulled out of the woodwork anyone with any expertise in this stuff, nor have we really excised any kind of whistle.
How many people like you do you know? Is you have a group of like 6 or a dozen? I mean, around the world. You've mentioned 1 or 2 other people. How many are working on this still, or have been working
on it? David, what would you say? 1 handful?
Yeah, a handful. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
It's not many.
So this is like as underground as you can get, and people just don't want to see. But It's there in front of us. That's what I don't understand. I'm not going to guess what it is, but it's there in front of us. And I think if this was natural, surely we would have seen this before. You know, it's all sort of come up now. I mean, look at those cables.
And we were very naive in thinking that this was going to turn on the medical and technical fields. It absolutely did not. So I honestly don't know what's so unpalatable about finding this stuff. I don't know if people are scared or what. I don't know what fear will get anybody.
No.
Or I don't know about David and I have discussed about our personal safety, and that doesn't seem to be in trouble. So maybe we are on the wrong path if we're not getting a whole bunch of crap, or other people are talking about death threats and things like that. That we've never been touched by that.
Well, maybe they just see it that people will just dismiss it, like you said. So it's no danger,
But I mean, this is nerd bait. I mean, anybody with a microscope and just a little bit of prowess could find these same things. We're just sort of in bewilderment why they haven't.
Yeah.
And the people who have dismissed it, if they want evidence, all they have to do is repeat our work, which is basically putting a very small drop of a vaccine on a slide and sitting there and watching it. That's all you got to do. And we have yet to see that.
Yeah, there was another O'Shane, I think. It was an Irish guy. We did a show with him, remember, David? But I think he's gone back to Ireland now. He was actually terrified. He was actually expecting to be he was really scared, but he did bring up some extraordinary things, but I don't think he worked with anyone else. But he was a nice guy, but it was really affecting him. He calls me now and again, but I haven't heard from him for a while. Yeah. But like I was saying, David, this is from 2 years ago. Are you still seeing the same 3 years ago? Are you still seeing the same stuff, or is it?
Yeah, I've been looking. Spent a lot more time looking at dental anesthetics in the last 2 years, and I've seen some very similar stuff in dental anesthetics. Seen the same sort of fiber connecting to crystals, not in the same technical way as this one. In an influenza shot, actually, that's made by CSL in Melbourne. Produced some pretty spectacular crystals.
Are the Pfizer shots harder to get hold of now? People aren't taking them. Are they throwing them out? Or are they still out there to get hold of?
Well, I'm not in a position to get them because I'm not able to work at the moment. So
yeah, that's right.
So they're restricted for me, that's for sure.
Yeah. Look at the infrastructure there with the little lights and little. It really looks like the end of a cable, doesn't it? Out of its sheath.
And David has enhanced some of these stills. You can really start to see the connections of the larger fiber getting into smaller fibers, and those having individual attachment points on the surface. And I say that with I guess with conviction, but all of these are couched in we think. So
yeah, I agree. Well, this is what we're dealing with. We literally are in the dark, and we just have little clues, and we have to work with that, But yeah, that just does not look normal or healthy. It's and you'd think there have to be some form of intelligence behind it. I mean, rather than just automated, there to be something would have to be.
That's certainly the crux of it, Michael. We're looking at something there that shows intelligent design.
Yeah.
And intention and synthetic nature. It's
and it's microscopic, like Matteo said. So it's microscopic. So somehow humans are able to create something that microscopic that can
So the long edge of
work
that's probably about
independently, basically.
150. Sorry, the long edge of that's probably about 150 microns, and you could probably see that with the magnifying glass and a good set of eyes. It's big enough to be able to see on the side with
Really?
the magnifying glass. Yeah, so it's not super small. And we think that, well, I certainly think the fiber has come from or is formed by hydrogel, and probably hydrogel that's electrosensitive, and it undergoes a phase change from gel-like state to a more solid state. And at the time it undergoes a phase change, if there's colloidal particles, which are the bits that are glowing, then they will end up in the you know, as a result of the phase change, they'll end up in the fiber.
Mm-hmm. So,
So
Matteo, when you were studying this, Matteo, did you? I remember somebody was showing coffee or tobacco was affecting it. Did you ever try adding stuff to see how it reacted with different chemicals or anything like that?
Yes, I tried all kinds of different things to dissolve the ribbons to start off with, like peroxide and all kinds of stuff. In my opinion, the nicotine destroys nanotech argument is unfounded.
Yeah.
If you put any liquid on top of this, it will dissolve that crystal.
Okay.
And in a matter of seconds, it will start, and that includes adding more of the same substance that you're looking at. David calls it blowing up. It's hard to keep him from blowing up chips that he's meticulously grown on his slide. But yeah, I don't see any evidence of that yet.
Yeah,
they're fragile, but they're also flexible. So it's an amazing technology. And what's neat about David, I'm going to talk about you. You're not in the room, but he was very much less interested in how from whence they were derived. He wanted to start to break it immediately. So he started trying colloidal gold, colloidal silver, all kinds of different substances to see if he could break up the technology. And that tells you a little bit about the heart of David Nixon.
So, David, what did you find? What was the most effective thing that you found with it?
Well, I don't know whether that's the right way of putting it.
Okay. What's the better
with
way?
that? So just coming back to the way that fiber formed, you know, to form like that, it almost certainly has to form within an electric field. So these things are very much sensitive to the electric field. And what I found when I was using the colloidal gold was I could put a drop of the colloidal gold next to a sample like this with it. And as Matteo says, if you just run the colloidal gold into the sample, it'll dissolve everything. So it doesn't really prove much. But what I found was that if I had an air gap between the colloidal gold and the sample, the colloidal gold appeared to change the way that the fluidity of the sample, and it would dissolve the crystals, which I now believe is a field effect. When the drop of colloidal gold dried out, the crystal would come back. So it wasn't permanent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was. And Mateo's had some thoughts about how that could work from a field side of things.
Yeah.
So I think that's how the technology works. I think it's, you know, it's a hydrogel that's electrically responsive, and they're manipulating fields around us and probably our own biofields to create the forms. You know, at a very simple level, I like to think about how a snowflake forms. How does a snowflake form with 3 perfect axes of symmetry? Well, the answer is it almost certainly forms an electrostatic field. And it's the field that dictates the shape. So I think here we're dealing with hydrogels, which are carrying the capacity to make things, particles which have the capacity to carry information, and the hydrogel is responsive to the electrical field. That's how I think this is working. So that gives us some insight into what we can do to potentially affect this. It seems to be responsive to orgonite, and we can talk a little bit about that because orgonite produces a very weak, probably biologically appropriate field.
Is that a crystal?
So what we're looking at there is a crystal, yeah.
No, the orgomite. Is that a...
So orgonite is a material that was invented in the 1990s, and it's a third quartz, a third metal, and a third resin. And the theory is that as the resin sets, it squeezes the quartz and produces a low-level piezoelectric field. So it produces a low-level static field. And I've certainly been able to show consistently with the dental anesthetics, if you expose an ampule of dental anesthetic to an orgonite field, it will change the way the technology behaves.
Okay. So, out of all your teams around the world, this small group that you're working with, has there been any other discoveries in the last year or so that they're not making the news, or things that have really floored you, or is this sort of where we're at now with this?
Well, the two other things that I like to talk about are the sodium citrate that was shown to be effective by Carl Coronis, and Carl's been on the show with us. And he discovered that the sodium citrate appeared to slow the technology down. And we subsequently learned that the sodium citrate can disassemble the sodium alginate hydrogels, and maybe some of the other hydrogels as well. And then we have a friend in Sydney who's shown the fact that the hydrogel in the blood appears to reduce in the presence of activated charcoal. So activated charcoal seems to be useful. Sodium citrate seems to be useful, and certainly avoiding electromagnetic radiation and going and living in Ecuador seems to be a good strategy as well.
Not for everybody knows that,
Well, I remember Matteo saying early on that he looked at the blood of a vaccinated person, and it was a lot better than an unvaccinated person in a heavy EMF environment. A vaccinated person who was in a low EMF environment appeared to be better. I think since then it's been a lot more difficult to work out vaccinated and unvaccinated status.
Well, that's what you told me. You said you can't tell the difference anymore.
We haven't been able to tell the difference for a long time. I think the difference that we do see is people that have been exposed to a lot of electromagnetic radiation seem to have more problems with their blood.
I know, Matteo, because I live in a bus. I'm just staying in somewhere now, so I live in. I see got a picture of it. So I live in this thing, and
that's beautiful.
Yeah, you want to see? Yeah. So it's I love it here. It says free speech defense. I heard someone recently go, only a Nazi would have free speech defense on their bus. So
Wow.
yeah, I know. But what I know is when I'm out in the country and if I'm away from things, you can just feel the difference. And I don't know if that's just the country's always been like that, but you can just feel. And I'm not sure even what nerve endings I can feel the difference in. You know what I mean? Like we're in the city now. It's getting fatigued, getting and I didn't think I'm ever that overtly overly sensitive, but that's what it feels like, you know? And I just love actually being we're just about to drive across to Perth probably next week. And there's the Nullarbor there's nothing out there, no cameras, nothing. And I'm just looking forward to it. Just you can sense it when you're out there, you know. Although of course we've got a Starlink, so we'll bring it with us. But yeah. So
Let me guess. You probably had a low grade headache that you didn't really notice until you got out there, and then suddenly you start to feel a little bit better in the upper part of your neck and maybe at the lower part of your
yeah,
skull. That headache
yeah.
starts to go, and then there's
Sometimes I used to have this thing where it almost felt like if I moved my head, suddenly my neck would actually break off. It actually felt like it was just solidifying, like it was on a blade of glass or something. It was really bizarre, you know.
yeah, range of motion, and then I don't know what you call that, but when you turn your head suddenly and then it feels like it just all goes numb.
Yeah.
It's a mild version of that. The range of motion and waking up. I know a lot of people who sleep with their cell phone by their head. They wake up with unbelievable neck aches, and they need to sort of rock things back and forth to even get their head to move.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because literally everybody now has a mobile phone. Before this interview, I just interviewed a young mother, and she won't have phones near her child or anything. It was really beautiful to hear that young people are really onto it. But but like with this work that we do here, whatever it is we're doing, just trying to raise awareness or just groping through the dark, trying to find some light. Unfortunately, one of our tools is the internet and phones and stuff like this. So we're sort of bound to it. You know what I mean? Unless you just want to become a hermit. But yeah. So basically, after 3 years, you have some sort of theories of what it could be. And I love yours, Matteo, because they're positive. If it's man-made, then we can unmake it. But we're actually really no closer. All we know is this stuff is there, and the world doesn't want to see it, but it's there.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good way to put it. The battle right now is to get people off of the idea that Wi-Fi and internet are synonymous. I think the technology has been pushed that way, where you can order a laptop now and you have to special order an actual jack to put the internet in. Now it's all Wi-Fi, and I think that's deliberate. It's not more convenient, not really. No. It's not faster. That's for sure.
That's for absolute sure.
But when that technology forked, there's a little bit more than convenience or connectivity or something else. There's not a technical reason to do that.
Yeah.
But what I notice is that people who don't freak out, live a relatively healthy lifestyle and try to put as much food in their body that has a likelihood of not being contaminated, that's almost the whole battle. And when that phenomenon of going from the city environment or the EMF dense environment, that doesn't seem to be convincing enough for people to wake up to the poison that is being emitted from all these different devices. So they'll go back to the city and forget that they ever got better when they came here. But I interview people. I have tons of notes. I interviewed the city people who come down here along my river, which is just beautiful. And they think that all these health effects are just because they're getting in the fresh air. But I think what's happening is a whole bunch of really low-grade maladies are being relieved a little bit all at once. and they just say, I feel better. So I push them and I say, what feels better?
Yeah.
And they all say that thing about the neck and how they just feel. Latin people are very good at listening to their bodies. They're very, very good at it. So I really press them. But the people from the city, they're less articulate about it, but they definitely feel better. And so I've been asking them to journal about it. And as they return to the city, which of these melodies actually comes back and what do you start feeling first? And that's a little bit better. But everybody who comes here out of EMF and along the river and grounding and all those things you've heard of, they just simply feel better.
Wouldn't it be extraordinary? We got to a point where we have to decide, well, you can have all this technology and all this Wi-Fi and stuff, but it's going to come across, but the cost is going to be your health.
Yeah.
That's your choice.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. Because I was on the way here from Melbourne. I come up, I don't know if you know it, David, the Monaro Highway comes up below Canberra. And it's always empty. Cowra's on that thing, Bombala. But it's school holidays, no one takes it. It's always empty. It goes up into the mountains. And I was there one night and there was no moon. And you walked out of the bus and you felt like you were walking into nothingness, into just, I couldn't see my hand like here. It was just, there was no moon. It was just black. It's actually quite profoundly beautiful. It's yeah, and you sort of reluctant to say, "Oh, I've got to go back to Sydney. I've got to get into this." But part of you is going, "Can't we just like stay here for like a couple of days because it's just so nice?" The only thing I've got to do is like every hour a truck passes and stuff like that. David, do you have anything else for us before we wrap up tonight with this?
I've got a few more of Matteo's slides, so let's have a look at some of that. Where are we?
And you'll notice the difference between David's images and mine. My microscope is I use it for, I started microscopy just by looking at compost and things like that. So mine's supposed to be looking at cow manure and goat manure and decaying material. It's fascinating, but that looks like dental.
One of the other key things that Matteo did was to raise the awareness of the complexity of the chemistry in dental anesthetics, and this is one of Matt's photos of the sessile droplet evaporation process in a dental anesthetic, which is really very spectacular. So, and this is a screenshot taken from one of the videos.
So what are we looking at here again?
So when the drop of dental anesthetic dries, it puts on the most amazingly energetic display. And what I might do actually, I can probably just pull up the video. That would be better, wouldn't it? See if I can do that quickly.
Dental anesthetics are really interesting to look at because everything happens about 100 times faster than with the vaccines for some reason.
Okay.
It's convenient. You can get a lot of research done in a little bit of time just by the rapidity of the formation. It's pretty interesting. I don't know
and
that
you're
it's
finding this in all dental anesthetics
that I've looked at. Yeah, so far.
Wow.
And it's been in there a while. The reason I started looking is I needed to have some dental work done. I'm trying to restore all my root canals and get them out of my head. So I was concerned that they had something in the injectable, and I looked, and sure enough, there it was. And I just thought, damn it.
Yeah.
But
I had to have a tooth extracted, and I was thinking, a part of me was thinking, why don't you just do without it? But yeah, I know it's hard, man.
Yeah. David, did you find it? Are you still looking?
Yes, is that? Can you see that or not?
Yep, it's coming up. There it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good active one. That's real time.
Real time. Wow.
And it certainly seems to be part of the technological process. This, what we're seeing here, it produces lots and lots of cells. And
Can you
one
make
of
it
the
bigger,
things,
David, can you
sorry?
make it bigger? Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, I'm not. Can you see that bigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what you're saying with this isn't just normal stuff we're looking at, because most of us have never even owned a microscope, or if we have, it's just looking at insect size or something. We haven't actually looked at this level. So is this this is not normal behavior pre a certain year?
Well, we've found this process has been in dental anesthetics for a long time. Though the actual complexity of the crystals has changed in the last few years. It's got a lot more complex. But like Quinta Columna raised a flag in 22 that found crystals and fibers in dental anesthetics. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think that was one of the reasons you had a look at it, or at least you'd have a squiz.
Yeah.
But they hadn't commented on the complexity of the chemistry that you see when it dries. Because it shouldn't be complex. There's nothing in it that would want to expect that there's complexity in the process. And not only that, it makes these complex crystals, and there are features in these crystals that we're seeing in the Pfizer crystals, similar morphology, if you like. And what's interesting is that if you actually screen the dental anesthetic from ambient electromagnetic radiation, it doesn't actually do this either. So this process is actually dependent on EMF. And this process with the vesicles around the crystal, that doesn't always happen either. So the extent to which the vesicles interact with the crystal is directly related to the subsequent complexity of the crystal as well.
Going back to what Matteo said, he thinks he's convinced this is man-made. If it actually is man-made, if it actually is something that has been put into us, this is like the greatest crime ever in humanity. How dare you do this to us? What were you, how it literally is. I can't see an argument where it can be solved that this is a benevolent act. They haven't told us. Anyone who finds it is basically discredited. And it just gets ignored. And so we're just seen as crackpots, and yet here we are looking at these things. Yeah. And they might be in all of us.
Yeah, I mean, this crystal obviously shares structure with some structural similarities with what we're looking at in the Pfizer. We've got one of the donuts here, and we've got the square in the corner, And that type of internal complexity is not a natural phenomenon. It just isn't.
Yeah. And so what's its purpose? Incredible. It's I mean, when it first came out, everyone was in shock and this, and they're all right and went away with it. But even 3 years on now, you're looking at it, you're going, what is this stuff? And how have they done it? And where was the meeting? Did they sit down and go, hey guys, I've got an idea. How about we, you know, it's like use this technology which could have helped the world and go, no, let's use it for bad stuff. Let's get it in everybody's body and unite them all and connect them all up, and whatever it is they're doing, it's, I don't know. Yeah. And the other thing here, I don't know what it's like in Ecuador, Mateo, but over here, the issue we have is that so much of the population are just placid. Even if you could prove it. I remember the guy that showed me that, how to read the MAC addresses with his phone. He said he finally got his friend, and his friend looked and he said, look, you've got one. And his friend just said, oh, well, wonder what they'll do to us next. And you're thinking, really? You're not bothered at all that they've suddenly given you a MAC address? And you're a little bit pissed off, feel a little bit violated. This is very, very scary stuff because, yeah.
Well, maybe you have the technology in your body so your dog who also has a chip, can come and find you.
Yeah.
The complacency is weird. I think a lot of people think privacy is dead.
Yeah.
I would recommend a whole bunch of stoicism where there is black and white, and it's interesting to watch the apology start to roll out, or the rationale. There's something when Alex Jones allows himself to be scanned with a scanner like that, that either means that people are catching on, which I'm less likely to believe, in that they're starting to get their excuse ready to go out into the more mainstream alternative media. So they're giving us a dose of what's palatable to talk about now.
Yeah.
If some weird ex-doctor in Australia and some retired engineer in the middle of nowhere can be dismissed, the evidence builds and builds and builds, and they decide to deflate that balloon just a little bit by allowing important people to talk about it. That's conspiratorial bad news, but it's good news in general.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, that's gone. That I couldn't believe it. I didn't know that was going to happen. I just got up this morning and said, "Thank you, God." Can I ask, what about graphene? Graphene is not oxide. What is it? The graphene. You can tell I'm a pretty lousy conspiracy theorist. Where's the graphene they were talking about early on when it happened? Is that graphene? Yeah. Have you come across
oxide?
That? Graphene oxide. That's what they were saying was in everything. Have you actually found any of that or any evidence towards that?
We haven't been able to categorically say that's what we're looking at. But certainly people, Pablo Campa in Spain in 2021 detected graphene oxide with Raman spectroscopy, and other people have as well. And graphene oxide can exist in a hydrogel form. We know that it's the perfect terahertz antenna. The suspicion is that it's definitely in there in the mix of things. It would make sense that it was, but we can't categorically say that we've seen it.
Well, that's the beautiful thing you guys are doing. It's not like you haven't sitting here going, it's this, it's this, it's this. You're actually going, look, this is just what we found. You know what I mean? And I think that's really healthy, because I sort of steer away from people that say they know. I know what's going on. I feel like saying no one knows what's going on. Although who is a small group maybe, but the majority of us are just trying to make sense of it or ignore it. Yeah. You said also you had something about the calamari in the blood, David. Did you say you had an update on that?
Not specifically, I don't think, Michael, but certainly, you know, it's in the mix of things. My feeling is we're going to find in due course that the nanotechnology isn't, at least in part, responsible for the precipitation of the white clots.
Yeah.
That's my feeling at this stage.
Yeah. All right, boys. So it's, I mean, the insane. How the fuck did we get here? There's seriously, man. How the fuck did we get here?
Correct.
There's yeah, you know, it just buggers me. And then we got this 31 Atlas on his way here, you know, or is passing through, and everyone's talking about that, and even that they're saying, hey, this could be alien life. The world is just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know.
So Mateo's had quite a bit to do with rockets and satellites and things like that, Michael. So Matt and I talked about 3i Atlas earlier on the week.
Thoughts, Mateo?
Pardon?
What are your thoughts? Maybe we could end it out. What are your thoughts of this 31? You think it's like a cruise ship full of retired aliens just drifting through space?
I don't know. It's easier to assume that anything coming from a government agency is a lie before it is true. I think you'll be batting a lot better if you assume that it's BS.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Honest inquiry is being suppressed, and it's damn near dead. So I don't know anymore. There's so many lies out there, and they flooded the field so well.
Yeah, it's a world of lies now. Everything, there's so many lies. It's incredible.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that any of these calamities are what they're being spelled out to be. Like the ones who say you should, I would say be skeptical of anybody who says you should. You should be scared of this, or you know what the people need to know. When they couch it that way, that just means that they're operating out of a panic or an adrenaline state, which is never a good place to stay.
Yeah.
So let the initial shock wash over your body, get rid of it, and then just get back to, okay, I have just chopped the end of my finger off. I should probably get some compression on it. I need to get a towel. I just would really encourage people to not be scared about this technology and just assess it in a triage situation, that this is serious. And when you're seriously damaged or seriously assaulted, you got to fight back.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fighting back, but it's the hard thing is trying to figure out what are we actually fighting back against. You know,
Yes.
It was easier in Australia when we had a Dan Andrews, because there's the enemy, Trudeau, there's the enemy, Biden, Horseface in New Zealand. What was the name? Jacinta. You know, that was, we had, but now all those, they got rid of them. They all suddenly, I'm never going to leave office. The next morning, okay, I'm quitting today. And so now it's vague. It's like you just got a sense that, like, by osmosis, this jail cell, this electronic jail cell, is being built around you. You know, Australia is just so full of cameras everywhere you look. There's cameras everywhere, and it's changing our behavior, as it's like the teachers watching us. We're sneaking around them. You know what I mean? So the surveillance in Australia is enormous. Yeah, not that it's stopping crime. That, you know, you still get killed, but your family gets a nice video of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hey.
Wow.
All right, boys. I'm going to. Thanks for. It's really lovely to meet you, Mateo. Really nice, man. It's. I really respect what you're doing. It's understand. We have a saying over here, which is really interesting. That we go, do you feel you're on the right path? And go, yeah, I'm definitely on the right path. And where are you going? Going, I don't know. And it's. And I think that goes the same. I know it's the same for David. The same for both of you. Yeah. Look, thanks for coming on. I'm going to shut it down now because AI will not make nice little shorts for me if I keep it under 2 hours, and we'll go from there. But stay in touch. Stay in touch through David. If you guys make any more discoveries or anything like that, let's get back together and just talk it out. And without the sensationalism, let's just try to talk it out and figure out what is it we're looking at. You know.
Thanks for the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
Any time passed with David, who has become one of my tightest friends, I will.
Oh, he's great.
I will be there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. I gotta get stoned. This is too much. Yeah. And thanks for getting up so early, because you're in Ecuador. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning there, man, or 6 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I normally get up in a half hour anyway. We're good.
Yeah. No, thanks, David. Thanks, brother.
Thank
And let's
you.
see
Welcome,
what
Michael.
happens from
Right.
here. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going out with a song called $100. So we'll go with that, and we'll be back. And we're back tomorrow with Glenn Pearson. Is it Glenn Pearson tomorrow to talk about the freedom movement and where we're going, and hopefully we can come up with something positive. Okay, take care. See you guys.
Bye now.
Tomorrow, I'm meeting a woman who posts naked photos of herself on Instagram and then tells me in text that she's plain. I Googled the modern definition of the word plain, but all I found was my face. And somewhere below, the bats are flying overhead like some sort of prehistoric hunger. Which is this night, which is just another night where this lonely person gets onto my tram. I call it a person because I can't tell if it's a woman or a man. And she looks like she's been living in her clothes for a week. They are too big for him and they are dirty, and her hair is a nest blown free from a naked tree in a storm which overlooked me. And with a Slurpee in her hand, she sits in my tram. At Box Hill, he just stands on the stop as though she is lost. So I ask him, do you know where you are, my love? And she asks, are you heading back? Yes, but only to the depot. And she nods to this, then looks up at the night where the bat's wings are whispering to her. And then she asks me, is there anywhere there where I can stay? No, but I can drop you off at Macca's. You could stay there for the night. I don't think that they would mind. And so together we're now heading back to Q, but I just don't know what to do. If I bring her home, my family will go crazy. But if I leave her here alone, what sort of crazy Christian soul action is that? And I think she's only about 20. Do you have any money? I ask. Yes, she says, and she says it politely and into the last of her drink. Are you sure? Because I can stop at a bank and get you some cash. And privately I've been wondering all the way to here, how much should I give her to placate my soul? $40. But then because I've been having a good week that sounds like chicken shit, So my soul suggests let's give her $100, and my brain replies no, 40 is fine. And as they fight for an inner consensus, my heart turns around and says, look, let me give you some money. But she looks up to me and says, no, that's fine. Then she stands and asks me, is this stop mine? And our golden arches church is a candle in her eyes. Thank you, driver, she says, and then alone she steps off into the bats night. Leaves me heading back in an empty tram to a date with a woman who sounds empty too. And the knowledge that my secret mirror will never reflect my soul's man. And the knowledge that my secret mirror will never reflect my soul's man.